Tanse, I'm Krisanachkate. Welcome to APTN National News. 17,500 people in northern Manitoba are being evacuated due to wildfires raging near their communities. It's a staggering number. Evacuation orders to leave by midnight were issued yesterday for the city of Flin Flon, the communities of Pimicikamak First Nation, Pakatawagan Cree Nation, and the Northern Affairs community of Cross Lake. Matthias Kalom First Nation has also been evacuated. Manitoba Premier Wab Kinew said they had hours, not days, to move people to safety.
This is the largest evacuation Manitoba will have seen in most people's living memory.
Kinew has called a province-wide state of emergency to keep people safe and prevent the loss of life. He says Prime Minister Mark Carney has agreed to send the Canadian Armed Forces to help fly people out of danger. Those who are able to will drive. The majority will find refuge in Winnipeg, more than 650 kilometers south of the general area. Soccer fields, community centers, and the like will be turned into shelters with tents and cots. Kinew says it's too early to tell how long people will be displaced, but that the state of emergency will be in effect for the next 30 days. He says Manitoba continues to need more help to fight the numerous wildfires in the north.
Manitobans are stepping up for one another, and so I want folks to ensure that you're leaving as soon as you can with the things that you need: medication, clothing, identification. If you have access to those things quickly, make sure you got a full tank of gas. We'll be there as emergency management officials to ensure that gas stations and other resources you need to make your way to safety are going to be kept open along the way. And when you arrive at our reception center, we'll ensure that you get connected with food, with shelter, and with the resources that you need to be safe.
767 people of Pimicikamak Cree Nation in northern Manitoba remain in the community as of this morning, as officials there are trying to secure a flight to get the remaining people out as wildfires rage at their doorstep. The Canadian Armed Forces have also arrived and have a plane ready to evacuate more people from Norway House. Pimicikamak Cree Nation Chief David Monias says the wildfire has now reached Jempeg and Minago and is advancing rapidly towards the junction of Highway 373 and 374. Conditions in Cross Lake remain extremely smoky and hazardous, and any unnecessary travel in the community is not recommended. The chief says another plane is attempting to land and pick up as many people as possible this morning, depending on visibility and flight safety. Chief Monias says they have already evacuated thousands of people to Norway House, but the recent influx of more than 6,000 evacuees has made the situation more challenging, with some people stranded at the ferry to Norway House for up to 9 hours without food or water. In a statement, Pimicikamak Chief David Monias said, "This crisis exposed gaps in federal and provincial response coordination. Despite Pimicikamak declaring a state of emergency on May 23rd, we were forced to wait for provincial protocol to activate military assistance. The Canadian Armed Forces were ready but were delayed due to red tape. This has cost time and put lives at greater risk. Our urgent request to all levels of governments: send more flights, provide food and water immediately, support families who fled with nothing, expedite emergency accommodations, and to Manitoba, build a bridge to Norway House. Lives depend on it." The chief is advising people to not return to Cross Lake as the smoke is thick and the fire is dangerously close. And we spoke to community member Karen McIsaac, who was evacuated to Norway House last night. Here's a listen.
You can see the highway was blocked off at Whiskey Jack Junction, so we went right to Norway House. And we were following a friend of ours, and he was towing a camper, so I was expecting the road to go a little bit longer, and then he started to slow down, and there was a huge line of cars. So we pulled over, and we were just waiting. And then it would go up, and yeah, there was people just kind of wandering and visiting and kind of keeping an eye on things. And yeah, then so we got to that part at about 3:48 p.m. and we didn't get to the ferry it took us 6 hours for us to get to the ferry.
According to Manitoba Kiwitanawi Okemaganak, or MKO, First Nations living on reserves are disproportionately impacted by wildfires in Canada. Roughly 80% of Indigenous communities in the country are located in or near forests that burn frequently, according to the United Nations Office for Disaster Risk Reduction. The Government of Canada estimates that First Nations and primarily Indigenous communities make up 42% of wildfire evacuations, though only representing 5% of all of the country's overall population. Northern Manitoba is no exception. MKO Grand Chief Garrison Setti advocates for the region. He says there were difficulties in being heard by past provincial governments during wildfire season, but that things have changed under the current NDP government led by Premier Wab Kinew.
Previously, we had struggles communication-wise. There are times when we were not allowed to be in part of discussions. But yes, this government has actually done a lot of work with us and meeting and sitting down with us and actually involving us in conversations that pertain to First Nation people. So I'm very appreciative of the fact that the ministers continue to reach out to us and we continue to meet and sit down. And I think that's the first time that's happened in history of provincial and First Nation relations. So I'm very happy.
Other provinces are also feeling the impact of Mother Nature. Wildfires are rapidly spreading across Western Canada with no slowdown in sight. In British Columbia, wildfires near Fort Nelson continue to burn, with Fort St. John and Dawson Creek now becoming high-risk areas. Alberta has seen evacuations in Chipewyan Lake, Red Earth Creek, Loon River First Nation, and Peerless Trout First Nation. In Saskatchewan, 17 active wildfires are burning. 9 are out of control, including fires near Lower Fishing Lake, Pelican Narrows, and Canoe Lake First Nation. All 3 provinces urge residents to avoid active fire zones and obey fire bans. And on the northeast part of Saskatchewan, about 5,000 people are also evacuating from Flin Flon due to a wildfire there that has grown to about 20,000 hectares in size. The fire originally started in a landfill in Creighton, Saskatchewan. Fire crews fighting that wildfire near Creighton barely escaped after a fire almost surrounded them. Firefighter Trevor Jean recorded this dramatic video.
Yeah, I got my full crews here. Woo! Down. Oh. Yeah, we should have hurried up. Hey, count your boys. Full day crews here. We're all here. Oh. Hurry up when they say hurry up, eh? Yeah. Run! I mean, if we were there a little bit later, we would burn.
In Saskatchewan, northeast of Prince Albert, where the province's 2 largest wildfires have merged into one, CTV's Laura Woodward has the latest on the firefight and the families bracing for the worst.
That's trailing the camp right there.
At the heart of Saskatchewan's largest wildfire, White Gull Outfitters, a family-run hunting business, is bracing for a total loss.
From what we've seen, it'll be a total loss, like everything. Quads, boat, cabins, everything inside the cabins.
Darren Sikorsky has been monitoring the fire through trail cameras, capturing footage of bears fleeing the flames. He worries the fire and smoke will permanently alter local wildlife patterns.
It's absolutely devastating. It's a little piece of heaven, or it was a little piece of heaven.
Saskatchewan's two largest wildfires have now merged, burning more than 216,000 hectares, an area nearly 9 times the size of Saskatoon.
We have additional planes that we had ordered in years gone by. One of those will be showing up shortly and will immediately go to work as well.
Alaska is lending Saskatchewan an air tanker. Quebec is sending 2 water bombers, but the Public Safety Agency admits the response is stretched thin.
Our provincial resources are indeed stretched.
Crews are working 16-hour days, facing dry, windy conditions.
We lose as often as we win on any given day. Successes today or a race tomorrow.
Road closures and evacuation orders are in effect for nearby areas. Early Tuesday morning, conditions became too dangerous for firefighters. The command center at Lower Fishing Lake was moved to Candle Lake.
Abandoning their command center and moved to here. And then that evening I was able to go out to the shore, and by that point in time and the skies darkened was the first time that I could actually see the fire. Excuse me.
With flames just 20 kilometers away, Candle Lake is asking the Saskatchewan Public Safety Agency for approval to build a fire break. The agency says it's responding to the most critical areas first. And while Sikorsky waits to return to what's left of his camp, he's already looking ahead.
If it's viable for us to rebuild, we will definitely do so. It's just not in us to give up.
Laura Woodward, CTV News, Saskatoon.
We have more news after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Two Indigenous members of Parliament called for an emergency debate in the House of Commons earlier this week on Jordan's Principle. Laurie Idlaut and Leah Gazan says there's an urgent need for the emergency debate to address a national crisis for Indigenous children. However, the Speaker of the House said he was not satisfied with the request and that it met the standing orders at this time. Idlaut says a backlog of applications combined with new restrictions on Jordan's Principle and Inuit Child First Initiative funding has had a harmful impact on the well-being of Indigenous children in Canada. In a letter to the Speaker of the House, Idlaut says there is an emerging food security crisis in Nunavut, caused in large part by the cancellation of a food voucher program in April that fed more than 15,000 Indigenous children. Gazan says Indigenous children have been cut off from educational supports and resources, including speech therapy and food security programming. She says children with medical issues are denied the funding to address unhealthy living conditions. The family of Jordan River Anderson is expected to take part in a blockade this weekend in Manitoba's Interlake region to address alleged mismanagement and corruption in Jordan's Principle. Idlaut says Indigenous children continue to be discriminated against.
The federal government unilaterally made changes without considering the impacts on First Nations and Inuit children, youth, and families. Changes to the requirements to access Jordan's Principle and Inuit Child First Initiative result in keeping First Nations and Inuit children in poverty and less healthy than non-Indigenous children.
The leader of one of the largest First Nations organizations in Manitoba says the provincial and federal governments need to slow down and do more consultation before moving further ahead with plans to open a second port on Hudson Bay. Premier Wab Kinew and others have mused about the economic potential of opening another port on Hudson's Bay or port at Churchill. Talk has intensified in recent months amid tariff threats from the United States and Donald Trump. A second port could present opportunities to ship energy and agricultural products directly to European markets. But speaking at an event in Ottawa on Tuesday, Southern Chiefs Organization Grand Chief Jerry Daniels said governments need to consult with First Nations first on potential environmental impacts.
I know that the government of Canada and the province want to rush through some of these projects and have an agreement that'll sort of overlap or be able to streamline these. It's not without a lot of questions, without a lot of assurance and guarantees for First Nations, because we've seen what happened in the past. There's a lot of missed opportunity for First Nations. There's a lot of exploitation of the land. And so our concern is with the water, with the land, and then we could talk about the economics about it once those things are properly in place.
The Cowessess First Nation in southeast Saskatchewan was recently awarded funding to advance the Marival Indian Residential School gravesite project. CTV's Mick Fable has more.
A team of academics is searching the ground for anomalies where a structure will one day stand. It's one of the many forms of research being used for a digital project which will one day tell the story of Maryville Indian Residential School and Cowessess First Nation. The nation was recently awarded funding from Digital Museums Canada for the project.
And we just want to tell this story and do it really well, and to tell this chapter, even though sometimes it may be laden with some bad news and stuff like that, but to tell it in a really good way.
Information gathering has been ongoing for roughly 3 years. It's been a learning experience for those involved, remaining respectful of the areas being studied, as well as the community members sharing their stories.
I appreciate the work for what it is. I mean, you want to do right by those that have passed on before us, right? And honor your older ones, your loved ones.
One of the major aspects of the project will be to reclaim Cowessess history, which is currently being held by other agencies and organizations. Those within the project are being trained on a variety of things, whether it be with technology or mental health. Ferguson says the biggest resource for the project are the people in the nation they talk to.
It is their actual experiences that we are working hard to capture and to document on their behalf. Until we get direction from our nation and from our members how they want us to share that information, it is our job as the residential school project to safeguard that and protect it.
Cowes First Nation is the first Indigenous group in Saskatchewan to receive funding from Digital Museums Canada. A launch date for the project is being planned for late 2027. Mick Favel, CTV News, Cowes First Nation.
APTN National Chief George McKenzie is speaking out against an ongoing residential school investigation in the Northwest Territories that has so far stalled. Our APTN Yellowknife video journalist Bruce Dela Cruz has more.
St. Joseph's Residential School in Fort Resolution has been under investigation since 2022 after inquiries of the fate of 75 children who attended the school were made. Chief Louis Balsley of the Evacuee First Nation has expressed his concern over the handling of the investigation. Earlier this year, in February, he sent a letter to Northwest Territories Premier R.J. Simpson, calling out the term artifacts being used to describe the children's remains in an archaeology permit that was submitted to the chief. APTN National Chief George McKenzie has recently come out with a statement in support of the Evacuee First Nation. The Dene Nation demands the government of the Northwest Territories to respect the jurisdiction of Indigenous governments and enforce obligations directed to the coroner's office to complete these investigations, ensuring that the children who died while attending residential schools are treated with the dignity and respect they deserve. Bruce Dela Cruz, APTN National News, Yellowknife.
We have previews of Nation to Nation and APTN Investigates up next. We'll be right back. On the east, Charlottetown 22, Halifax 22 and sun. Cartwright partly cloudy and 4, Happy Valley Goose Bay 5. Saint Jovite 17 and rain, Quebec City partly cloudy there and 21. Toronto 17, Sarnia sunny and 17. Sunny in Big Trout Lake at 22, Sioux Lookout 21. Smoky and Puckatawagan at 16, Thompson 26 and partly cloudy. 22 in Winnipeg and sun. Barons River 16 and sun. Regina 21, Yorkton 21. Sunny in Meadow Lake at 25, La Ronge 18. 29 in Grand Prairie and rain, Fort McMurray 34. 31 in Calgary, Medicine Hat 31. 15 in Tofino, sunny in Vancouver at 19. 19 in Prince George, Prince Rupert 11. 15 in Watson Lake, Mayo 13. 20 in Wrigley, Wati 29. Tuktoyaktuk 3, Pulatuk 13. 12 in Baker Lake, Chesterfield 8. And Naglulik 4, Arctic Bay 4 as well. Thanks for staying with us. It's Thursday, and that means Fraser Needham joins us now from Ottawa to tell us what's ahead on Nation to Nation.
Coming up after the evening news, Ontario's Ford government continues to push ahead with plans to develop the Ring of Fire through legislation called Bill 5. But First Nations are fighting back, saying they have not been consulted. And tensions continue to heighten at Queen's Park in Toronto this week. The AFN Regional Chief for Ontario is here to talk about it. As well, another battle continues at the Canadian Human Rights Tribunal, this one between the federal government and the First Nations Child and Family Caring Society over long-term reform in First Nations child welfare. The Caring Society's Cindy Blackstock is here to talk about that issue. And the NDP is also taking the government to task over Jordan's principal funding. Nunavut MP Laurie Idload is here to talk about that issue. All this ahead on Nation to Nation.
Thank you, Fraser. APTN Investigates returns this week with an all-new episode. Journalist Brittany Gio looks into the practice of medical assistance in dying or MAID. Thousands of people are approved for medically assisted death each year, including April Hubbard. Her story offers a rare look at how people navigate love, loss, and the deeply personal decision to end their life on their own terms. Here's a preview.
Death touches every corner of life. The pain it leaves behind is so pervasive, so acute. Like a shadow, it follows us. Silent, constant. And in the deepest moments of despair, it swallows every trace of light.
Weather for a walk today, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm glad. It's not going to be so great tomorrow.
In 2024, Jeff Rideout met April Hubbard. Like many people today, they met online. But their love story unfolded in a way few people ever experience.
I mean, I know everybody's not the same, but my gosh, how many of us would love to have the option to be surrounded by the people we love when we go? Is there a better way?
Life is short and we only have a very brief time on this planet, so go out there and don't hold back and live life the way you want to and the way you're meant to. I do believe very much that there's some kind of spirit world out there, so even though I don't understand exactly what that looks like and how I'll be able to access it, I believe that it's a continuation and not an end.
And you can catch APTN Investigates, A Good Death, airing this Saturday on APTN. And that's your daytime newscast for this Thursday. Dennis Ward is back with more news for your evening newscast. Please join us then. From all of us at APTN National News, thank you for watching, and we'll see you again next day.